Guys, we're in Poland. It is week 5 of the cargo challenge and also of the year 2025. We've been awarded with some playtime and we've left the logging behind us. And it's time to go for the next cargo type, which is wooden beams. We got a new trailer, or a different trailer. It's not new, but it's new to us this time. So we're gonna go pick it up, load up the cargo, and then let's get on the road. The destination for today is Brno, and yeah, I think it's gonna be good. Let's hop in. So yeah, we got some unexpected playtime. I'm at home today. My son has got an eye infection, so we're keeping him from school. He gets to play some Nintendo, and I get to play some PC. Almost everyone is happy, so that's good. It was really cold yesterday. I was working outside all day, and it's like I've told you before, I love my job, but some aspects of it are horrific. Just being outside, having to fiddle with the fingers are freezing is just kills it. So I actually appreciate the downtime today. So in Sweden, it works like this: when your kids are sick, you get to stay home. You get 80% of your price. So it is quite nice. And like I said last week, we didn't get as many runs as I had expected, but that's perfectly fine. You know, we play when we get the time, and we don't play when we don't. So this week is wooden beams, and I got a bit of a plan for this week. That's going to take us on a road trip through Europe. But we'll see how much of it we actually get to get to finish. Time will tell. The trailer that we're gonna get, it's a flatbed trailer, and that means just, well, a trailer with an open top, just a bed that is, well, flat. We can load stuff onto. Gonna load the the wooden beams. Going to Brno. Trailer is back here. Maybe I should have reversed it in here, but we can turn around. Oh, see, yeah, here it is. Wish I could have reverse sensors. I don't know if they use that in real life. I think they do, like use cameras and stuff. We don't have that yet, unfortunately. Maybe someday. It is fine this way too, but it'd be nice. Okay, we're gonna lower the suspension. See, the whole truck drops down. Okay. We are set. Let's take a look at this thing, see what it looks like. That is very nice. We need to pull over to see where we're going. I'm not really sure. Let me see if we can stop here real quick before we go on. Okay, let's take a look at the map. We're gonna go here to pick up the cargo. And then the destination is Brno. Which is here. So it's not super far. But we'll start with picking up the cargo. And then we'll be on our way.
Keep left and then turn left. Turn left. Go straight on.
I've been watching a TV series with my wife. It's about quite a spectacular robbery that was like in the mid-2000s here in Sweden. It was one of these cash depots. Like back then, we had a lot of problems with bank robbers, stopping these armored cars that are running the cash, between the cash, what are they called? The cash machines? The name escapes me, it's been so long. Anyway, these cash machines, they were, filled by these armored cars going from the cash depot to the, I guess ATM is one word for it. But these cash withdrawal machines, you know what I'm talking about. If you're if you're old enough, they barely exist anymore. But back then, that was like the electronic currency wasn't really a huge thing back then. So cash was still, very much in use in society. Anyway, in 2004 and 2005, around that time, there was a lot of these robberies. Like they would, it was some heat level stuff. Like they would, stop these armored cars, hold the guards at gunpoint, blow the car open, get the cash, and then get out. And I remember there was this huge deal about it. I was working as a security guard at the time, so it was very. I didn't work in cash management or the delivery of it, but it was very much, on our radars or whatever you want to, whatever you want to call it.
Get ready to turn left.
But so this
Turn left.
this movie is about,
Finally, we are here.
or the series rather, it is about the most spectacular out of these robberies. So on this depot, they where they where they keep the like huge amounts of cash. These bank robbers, they took a helicopter and landed on the roof of the building, like blew their way in, just stole the cash, and then took off in a helicopter. So at the time, it was none of that had ever been, hadn't been done before that, or like as far as I remember, nothing like that has been done ever since. I mean, we've stopped with cash, so I guess those guys are into different kinds of criminality. No, I don't know. Either way, this TV series is about that spectacular like thing, and it was a very that time was a very formative time for me, because I had just gotten out of my military service and I was working as a security guard. So I was basically just starting my adult life, or whatever you want to call it. And just the era in and of itself is is very like nostalgic for me, because, well, I mean, it was in many ways it was a much simpler time without without the internet, without social media. But it was also, like, for me, it was an extremely lonely time. Like, it was before I met my wife. It was I was in a very dark place.
Okay, here we go.
In the mid 2000s. So, for that reason, it is also, sensitive for me to see like things from that time and think back on it. Anyway, this TV series, it's very well made. It's on Netflix, so if you search for like helicopter robbery, you can see it's in Swedish, so I don't know. How fun it'll be for just anyone to watch it, but I don't know. Give it a shot. I think it's good. Anyway, what it gets me, like I said, it got me thinking about like this time, this time that is bygone, and it is never coming back. And like, man, it is quite the emotional roller coaster to think back on it. But like I said, I was working as a security guard, just like when I got out of the military. And that was like, now thinking back of it, I was what, 20 something
Get ready.
years
Turn
old.
left.
And when I started there, I started working, the first job I got on the security company was
Turn left.
in a mental emergency room. Like, if you have anxiety attacks or anything, anything like that, that is the place to go. That's also where, if someone does something really bad, if it's because of their mental state, they won't go to the won't go to like jail. They will go to this place instead. So I didn't think about it much back then, but thinking back on it now, that is a weird decision from the security company to put like the guys with the least experience on that. It should be the other way around. They should put the guys with the most experience. Like the first couple of weeks that I worked there, the job I had, like my task there, it was to make sure that the place was safe, of course, because a lot of the clients there, they got violent, and because of their mental state, but also for good reason sometimes, because it wasn't a good place to be in for anyone, I think. In many cases, it was more of just a prison, So we had to do some things that wasn't like, when someone gets violent, you have to hold them, and that's one thing. But then when you tie them down in these beds with these thick straps, like, I don't know, it wasn't. Looking back on it, I think people who do that should get some kind of preparation for it, because I was just, I was young. So I hope it's better now. I think it is, but like, who knows, man. Anyway, the frustrations there was like, once hourly, we were supposed to walk in the halls to make sure that everything was like, everyone was safe and everything was, nothing crazy going on. But like, I was in the security uniform, tall black leather boots, it's dark gray, cargo pants, dark gray uniform. I had a bulletproof vest, leather gloves, one of those ASP, extendable batons or whatever it's called, and like shaved head like I have. That's not, the clients there. They have, previously in their life, they have, a pretty bad have had a pretty bad experience of like police and security, being rough on them. So I can understand why, many times me showing myself, just being there, looking the way I did, prompted the situation that I was there to, there to keep away. It was really frustrating because, like, I feel for these guys, the clients. I mean, I really do. And, a lot of the times I was able to, defuse the situation by, communicating. But a lot of times, I can't, it doesn't matter if I say that, hey, everything's going to be fine. I'm not here to hurt you or anything. Some of them aren't in a state where they can, take in the words. So, yeah, that was rough. Because, seeing someone who's only scared of you and they're locked in with you, that's horrific. I really feel bad for them. And like I said, I was able to change, I was able to help be the, be the change I want to see in the world, or whatever, be the positive force in a negative situation. So a lot of the times I was able to do something good from it, but a lot of times I just couldn't save it. That was frustrating. Anyway, so that job, I moved on from that because, I don't know, they wanted me somewhere else and do other things. So I ended up, for the most part, during that job, I was a group leader, sort of like a team leader for the unit that is like, you could say it's like response team. So if there's a burglar alarm or a assault alarm on any of the clients, any of that stuff, I did a lot of that. But also, to tie it back to the TV series with the helicopter robbery, with the bank robbers and the cash robbers. So they had this like, I think it was like 2007 maybe. It was like peaking, and it was insane. Like every day, another cash delivery was blown up. That was like it was a huge issue. No one got hurt or killed or anything, as far as I remember. I mean, it was traumatic for the guys driving the trucks for sure. I'm not trying to, you know, make it sound like it was nothing other than a horrific robbery, traumatic for sure. And I'm sure that a lot of those guys, I mean, they were held at gunpoint. They just gotta traumatize you for life. But I didn't really think about that at the time. So, I was young and it was cool with, doing the whole response thing. It was exciting. So the company I was working for, they were also doing these deliveries. So at one point they were like, we need more people, not to drive the vehicles, because that was obviously, they were also afraid that it was a lot of it was insider jobs with the information. So obviously I wasn't driving the truck or anything, but what they wanted was escort vehicles for these trucks. And I was like, oh man, this sounds, this sounds great. I want to do this because it sounded exciting. I wanted to, be in it where it happens. So I did that for I was like, yeah, I'll go, I'll do it. It was in Stockholm, so the location was about 1.5 hours drive. I didn't have anyone at the time, like girlfriend or family or anything, so I went to live with an army buddy of mine. So I slept on his couch, just hanging out with him, and then during the day I would just go drive escort for these cash trucks. And it was fucking crazy. Nothing happened or anything, at least not to me. They had other guys, like it was happening around us, but I was never, in the, in a robbery situation or anything. Thankfully. I don't think, I would be lying if I said I wasn't kind of excited if it would happen. I wouldn't say that I wanted it to happen, but anyway, it didn't happen to me, but it was insane to drive these escort vehicles. So yeah, let's see if I can get someone to let me out here. Can't be sitting around here all day. I think I may have made it worse. Oh, here we go. Oh, come on. So this was not the best idea I've ever had. Let's see if we can yeah, here we go. So driving what was crazy about these escorts. So when I got there, it was such a weird situation, because they're like, oh, here comes all the new guys that we asked for. And it's like, as they were briefing us, they were like, oh shit, we don't know who these guys we don't know who these guys are. I mean, working for the security company, we've had this, the Swedish National Security Police or whatever. Basically, our intelligence service, they vetted us multiple times, and it was like a constant thing. They were doing it over and over again, but that is not too hard to, now looking back on it, they would never have known, unless I would have gotten busted for anything previously. That's the only way they could know. Anyway, so as they were briefing us, they were like, oh shit, we don't know these guys, we can't fucking trust these guys. And they came to the realization that, hold on, if they're gonna escort, they need to know where we're going. Because we need to get there before the armored truck. The idea was that we get to the cash delivery location, go in, make sure that everything looks clear, because if there are robbers in a ambush, we would be able to hopefully spot them, and they wouldn't, you know, what are they going to do with just one guy who has no, in just a regular security? He's got nothing. So that would kind of diffuse the situation, and I think that's a good idea, kind of. If only it wasn't for two things. One, the robberies didn't take place at the locations, it was in transit. And two, letting even more people know where these cars were going and when is not the best idea to keep it secret. And they realized this as I said, as they were briefing us about what was going on. So they were changing the briefing as they were, you know, briefing us on it. So they were like, yeah, your job is to, like, in the beginning of the briefing, it's like, yes, you're gonna get the intel of, like, or information where we're going, or where the truck is going. You're gonna go there, and you're gonna make sure that it's safe, and then you're gonna radio the truck, and it can roll in and do the job. You will stay in a, you know, perimeter check to make sure that the delivery is okay, and obviously not, you know, fight any bad guys, because we weren't armed or anything, thankfully, and neither were they. Also, thankfully. But as they were briefing us, they were like, "Oh shit, this is not a good idea." Like, so they changed the briefing that instead of being, you know, preemptive, you know, arriving first to do the checkout, we're going to drive behind the car. And like, I was like, okay, so how is that going to happen? Like, because they were like, well, you can escort from behind, and then the car will roll up to the delivery point and stop, and then you will go in front of it and go check it out. Now, a couple things were a little wrong about this, or I mean, it wasn't anything wrong with it, because I guess at least they kept the route secret, which was like the main thing, their main focus. But whenever we arrived at the location, I wasn't supposed to go close to the car, and we didn't have much, you know, I didn't have direct communication with the delivery car, or the armored car. Oh, we gotta stop for fuel here. Oh, we can't turn in? Okay. We can go in here? Yeah, we can go in here. Okay. So, I wasn't allowed to communicate with the car in any way. No radio, no phone, nothing. I don't know why, but that's the call that had been made. Like, I don't know. Someone thought it was a good idea to do that, and they had their reasons. We didn't have much comms at all. We had
Finding a new route.
we had a telephone, like a mobile phone, and that was it. So, we can take a look at the logs, the wooden beams. That's a nice looking load, isn't it? I don't know why, but like, I like the look of this cargo. You can almost smell it, can't you? Yeah, almost. So what was I saying? Oh, the communication. Yeah, so we let me just refuel this. We had to drive behind them. And they stopped at different, you know, they stopped at a safe area from the delivery point. And that could depend, you know, on how far away it was. So sometimes, you know, we stopped and I could see, like, where we were going. I could see the delivery point, like I could see the cash withdrawal machine, the ATM or whatever it's called. But other times, that one, the delivery point would be like inside of a mall or something. So they stopped far away from any choke points, and I was like, am I gonna, like, understand where we're going? So like, you can imagine how ineffective that was, because that left the armored car just sitting idling, waiting for me to go
Okay,
look at a
let's
place
find
that
a
I
new route.
thought maybe would be the place where we would deliver. It's just ridiculous. Like, looking back on it, just, what the fuck were they thinking? Just fucking stupid. Either way, that was frustrating, but it wasn't a problem. I could do that even though it's fucking stupid, and it was stressful because, like, I wanted to get, I don't want them to get fucking held up while I'm dicking around looking for a cash machine. Like, stupid. For the most part, it was fine, but a couple times it was like, this is taking too long. Anyway, the problem was that the drivers of these armored cars, they were the fucking hardest guys I've ever met in my life. They didn't give a shit. They were like, yeah, it's a question of when, not if. And they were ready for it. And they thought that they also, they could also realize how stupid the whole situation is. Or was. Mind you, this was, 20 years ago? And also, they were like, those guys weren't without humor. I didn't think it was very funny at the time, but they sure as fucking hell did, because they were like, oh, he's got to drive behind us. His job is to keep us safe. Obviously, they could realize how ridiculous the situation was. Like, they know that I'm not going to keep them safe. It was just the company doing anything. If anything, I was delaying them and making it worse. So they did the right thing and just keep going. However, they thought it was fucking funny to drive when there was a green light coming up, and it turned yellow, and they kept going, and I was behind them. So if they drive against, if they drove on like dark yellow, light pink, and I was like, oh shit, because I can't stop, because we were going like fast. So
Go straight on.
oh shit, if I stop at the red light and let them go, I will never find them again. Like, I don't know. To Stockholm, the city I live in is just a little small rural town. Because the traffic situation in Stockholm is drastically different. Also, we didn't have GPS. Like, how am I gonna, how am I gonna find my way? It's impossible. I had a map and be like, oh, I am on Stockholm Street. Let's see. Let's go to index S, Stockholm. Oh, S, and that is map grid G6. And let's turn around and look at the map. Go to map grid G6. And oh, there it is. And where do I need to go? And like, can you imagine just like, even if I knew where I was going, can you imagine how long it would take for me to find that place on a map? I mean, we were fast because that's what we did back then, but nothing compared to a GPS. Like, it was ridiculous. So they ran this dark yellow, and I obviously ran a red light, and you can just imagine how bad that went. Not just for me. I was in 2 crashes. Nothing too serious, but crashes nonetheless. And other guys, they were just, yeah. So we kept this up for 2 weeks until the company realized that we are only making everything worse. But they called the whole thing off. But it was interesting 2 weeks for sure. And stressful. This is the most stressful I've ever been in my entire life, trying to catch up with that. Trying to catch up with that car, and I felt like I was young, so I felt like I had a responsibility. Trying to do, now I would have maybe realized the ridiculousness of the task, but I didn't then. I was like, I'm going to take this task, I'm going to take this task seriously and try to accomplish it in a responsible manner, because that's who I am. I swear to God, my heart rate goes up just thinking about it. But yeah, all that stuff just comes back to me when I'm watching, these companies. A lot of them don't exist anymore, or they've been rebranded, or whatever, but I remember the depots. I remember the mood. I remember like everything about that time so vividly. Like when I'm thinking back on it, it's not something I don't think about that time, a lot, but yeah.
Keep
I would
left.
lie if I was, if, you know, I would lie if I said that I didn't want to, if I could go back for 1 week, just, I wouldn't want to go back to my mental state because like I said, I was alone. I was very hurt and confused. And I've been lonely and, well, look, let's just call it for what it is. I've been depressed for, long stretches of my life. I didn't know it at the time, but I would like to go back and, give myself a hug if I could, because it was trying times, but so I don't want to go back to that, of course. Not afraid of it or anything, but that particular part of my life, I don't really, miss it that much. But what I do miss is the times, like early 2000s. I would love to, or even late 90s. Like if I could time travel, I would go back to, I think 1997. I must have been, I don't know, 14 maybe at the time. And that was also a crazy time in my life. Like I can go into that. That is a topic in and of itself. Like what was going on in my early teens. But just the city and just that was even before mobile phones existed. Not that, the existence of a mobile phone is inherently bad. But what I mean is that the times were so different. Everything was a lot slower than it is now. Good and bad, of course. That's why I want to go back to like a vacation of it, because just seeing the analogness of things. Like I have a vague memory of it, but technology has been around for so long that even my memory of it, and I was born before, I remember a time when the internet didn't exist. But the memory is fading. I got to be completely honest with you. And like, I know adults like to talk like about how the example of when you wanted to do something with a friend, you had to go to their house and knock on their door and ask. But like, that's what my kids and all their friends have now. We don't, they don't have cellular phones. They can't call each other or text each other yet. I mean, they will for sure, of course, in just a couple of years. But right now, they're 7 and 6 and 9. So they're still analog, even though they have like screen time. But yeah, I would like to go back to 97 or 98 and just walk through the city, and also I wish I could go back to a grocery store, to see kind of all the things that I have forgotten that you probably took for granted at the time. This is me being super nostalgic. I'm sure that time wasn't any better than it is now, in multiple ways. But yeah, I've always been curious about, what was available. What was available to people at the time, and how the grocery store could look like, different candies, the different foods, packaging, cereals, just the bags, and just every tiny little trinket that was like around in a grocery store at the time that just completely fallen out of memory. I'd like to see that. I remember like the last long conversation I had with my grandmother, I just asked her to. I basically asked her what's her first memory, and then I just kept asking her to describe the times from then. And you know how drastically different that was. That was, you know, in the 40s, up north, up in northern Sweden.
Caution. Please mind the speed limit.
And I feel like late 90s in my town is just, it is so far away. Like, at my work, I got this, I think of it as like time vertigo. Let me try to explain what I mean is, like I said, I talked to you earlier how I was working in an elevator machine room. And I do a bunch of that. Go into fan rooms and elevator machine rooms and just those kind of service compartments that are rarely occupied by anyone. Meaning that you don't have to go there. It's just a machine that does a thing, like a pump or an electrical box. It doesn't, you know, you don't have to do anything unless something is broken with it. So the things in that room tend to be very interesting and, you know, hard for me to grasp, you know, time, because it's like an indicator light of something is broken and I need to change it, and it was installed in like 1992. And then when I start to think about like what was going on when this thing was installed, when it last was outside, and now I'm gonna disassemble it, bring it outside again to throw it away. Like how different. I know it's just a thing, like a physical item. It doesn't care, I know that. But like, how much has happened since it last, you know, had a touch of fresh air? Just being installed in 1992, what is this, like Soviet Union still existent? What had happened since? Like, year 2000 came and went, fucking 9/11 came and went, War on Terror started, ran its whole progress and then ended, and that's just global events, and also like what has gone on in my life since then. It's weird because, and not just the technical items that I'm interacting with, there's always like something else that I find like left over from guys, like a hat that someone, you know, a maintenance guy in 1994 came into this room and he had a hat on and he took it off and hung it on like a hanger or a chair or a desk or something that's there, and then he forgot it, and it has just been left there since because no one took care of it, because that room is just, you don't have to know, there's no cleaning service in there because there's no one in there. No, you don't have to do anything in there. So it's just left, like a desk with drawers that there's items in that someone has left. Like there are shelves with, you know, binders full of paper that no one even knows what it is. Like at some point that paper was important enough for someone to store in a binder, but then time kind of just, you know, time just kind of went. And like I found this box of gingerbread cookies that was like from this big company that I worked for. It was branded, it was their logo, and they're like, "Merry Christmas, wishes this us at the big company, 1997." So like some guy had gotten that box of gingerbread cookies and taken it with him to be like, "Oh, I got to do something in the control room
and then continue straight
or the
on.
electrical room or whatever," and then brought it with them, set it down because I had to do anything, and then forgot it. And it was just, it's been left there since 1997. It is still there to this day. Like I saw it not too long ago because I always think about it when I come into this room.
Keep
and I
right,
like it.
and
It's
then
right
continue
there.
straight on.
Yeah, that kind of gives
Go
me
straight
time vertigo. And also, when I do something like that, like I was working in one of these fan control rooms, and this building technician, the guy I told you about earlier, my friend, he came in there with a drink. And so I had this drink with him, and he really liked me talk about how good the drink was, and like, whatever. He was at a shop where he met his current girl, like he met his girlfriend. So now I know why he came with all the licorice stuff. Anyway, I had this drink, and it was a glass bottle, and I put it down in that room. I didn't, I wasn't, like I should have brought it with me, of course, and brought it to their glass, recycled, whatever. I didn't. I put it down, and I was like, dude, how long? I thought to myself, like, how long is this bottle gonna be here? Because I found, like I said, I found this kind of stuff all the time for different, different years. And like, I touch it, I have this drink, and then I set it down, and what, it's gonna be there in 40
right,
years? It's
and
gonna
then
be there,
turn right.
what, 60 years? 100 years? You never know. And that's what I mean by kind of got
Turn
a little
right.
time vertigo, because it's just so weird to me how these items kind of get pulled out of the timeline that they were taken from, and they were just stored somewhere. And this is like, I was really big into urban exploration at one point in my life. Like, when me and my wife first met, we used to do, we based our vacations around urban exploration and graffiti. So we used to go to a lot of these, like, abandoned places to just look at, like,
At the roundabout, take the second exit.
factories. And I was always, I mean, an abandoned factory is, it's interesting, of course. Like, old machinery is just, there is something about the aesthetic and the idea that, it was supposed to last forever, and it did, because it probably still works. But it's the changing rooms and the locker rooms. That's, that's where the really great stuff is. At least for me. Because, that's where their personal belongings are. And like their work clothes, where I, last time I was in my grandfather's barn, he was, where he worked in a silver mine up in northern Sweden. And last time I was in his barn, he died in 1993, so he's been dead for a very long time. And I think last time I was in his barn was in like 2013 maybe. And that was also a very emotional, experience for me, partly because I was very close to my grandfather when, like, he was the last male role model I had. And he died very early, so obviously, fuck. It wasn't good before that, but Jesus. Man, I wish I could have had him for longer. So, going into his barn, I found, like, his work boots. We got off work, took his boots off, took his, mining helmet, hung it on the wall, and then he just walked out of the timeline, He just stopped existing. The stuff was still there. And, yeah, I don't know, there's something about that just does something with me, like inside me. I don't know if it's, I think it's both scary and fascinating at the same time, and I also feel like I can relate to these things because these things, they were taken out of the timeline, and I have always kind of felt that I'm not really in the timeline, if that makes sense. Because I've always had this outside looking in mentality. So I always feel like a big connection to these. I know it's like weird to have a strong connection to physical items, especially things that you haven't really, like, I haven't seen before. But I don't know. It's a little hard to explain. But yeah, that kind of stuff is very interesting to me, and I have a hard time looking away from it. So every time I found a place like that, I just gotta look at it. And that's one of the things. Oh shit! Sorry. That's one of the things that I really liked about the job when I was working security, because I got to go to a lot of places that I didn't even know existed, and do stuff that, you know, do things that normally shouldn't be allowed to do, be in places you normally shouldn't be allowed to be. That's like the military, the security job, and then the job I have now. They all share this, and that's one of the things that I like so much about them, because I get to do all these things that are just, you know, normally you don't get to hang off the side of a building and, well, in the military it's shooting, but, you know, observe or do, you know, when I do the electrical work or whatever. I really appreciate that. And that's one of the things that I was looking for when I got this job, to kind of go back to the, you know, the explorative parts of life. And like, even though my job has, you know, it has some drawbacks, and it is especially, you know, apparent when it's cold out. You have to take off your goddamn gloves to, it just,
turn right.
Yeah. Oh, I was looking at the graffiti and I didn't take the turn. We got some damage. That's on me. Thankfully, it was just the trailer and not the cargo. So yeah. It was a long time ago since I saw like a place, like I haven't been to an abandoned place in a really long time, because obviously they're not in the middle of the city, because old building tends to be torn down and new one built in their place. But like there's everywhere in Sweden, there's abandoned stuff in the smaller, you know, we're losing a lot of our small towns. Because people just move out and the factories are just closed. And so it's both like, you know, residential houses that are just empty. Bunch of stuff left there if you want to, you know, take a look at it, sift through, whatever. That would probably feel a little weird to me, to be like inside someone's home. I think maybe it's not really for me, but someone's old workplace, that is, I love that. I think it's so fascinating.
Go straight on.
So here we are in Brno. It is looking very much like the city I live in. The big city, I live outside the city, but like the internal of the city looks a lot like this. I think a lot of,
Go
you know,
straight on.
it's probably typical European looking town.
Keep right, and then turn right. Turn right.
Delivery's right here. construction zone. We'll turn on the beacons so we don't upset the foreman. What do you think this guy's doing? I feel for you, dude. Which of the fuses is it? Okay, let's see if we can figure out. Oh. We just drive it right in and then a quick reverse and then we're done. Oh, look, they have one of these 2-tower churches. We have that in my city too. It's pretty common in Europe. You probably have one in your city as well, but I've always liked the look of the twin tower cathedrals. It looks so menacing. See what we need to do to get this straight. Gonna turn it a little bit like this, and then when the back wheels are kind of where we want them, we're gonna straighten it out and see if we can just coast right into position. Straighten the truck up. There we go. We can do better than that. I was straight, but I was not properly aligned. I don't want to get super like picky about being aligned in the dead center of the rectangle, but I mean you can do a little bit better than completely crooked, I think. Like this. Yeah, this is a lot better. Are we straightish? That would look pretty straightish. Okay. That was it. That was fast. Wasn't too long. But it was fun though. Let's take a look at some stats first. Okay, 483 kilometers. So it wasn't too long. Oh, look at this. I did it again. I thought it was good, but it was really bad. No, I thought it was 27, but it's 37 liters out of 100. Oh God, that is worst so far. Let's forget about that one. 35 minutes from Poznan to Brno. In my beautiful Scania S, it is coming up on 200,000 kilometers. We need to celebrate that. So let's keep an eye on this so I don't forget it. 195,955 kilometers on the odometer of the truck. So that is all the kilometers I've driven in this game in total, because I got this truck is the only one I've ever had. Anyway, wooden beams, 22 tons. Plane 437, rail 483. So, yeah, pretty close. Income was 9,121. Taxes was 1,300. Fuel cost was 360, and the revenue was 7,392. Now, what is missing from this stat is damage, because you remember how I hit the trailer on the little fence thing when I was looking at the graffiti? Well, it is not here, so it doesn't count, because only the statistics count. Delivery rating, 3.5 out of 5. That's not too good. Damage, 5 out of 5 stars. So obviously no damage because there's no evidence and there's no crime. Distance, 1 star out of 5. It did not like the low kilometer, but that's fine. It's okay. You don't have to like it. Fines, 5 out of 5. No fines. Fuel economy, 5 out of 5. Whatever you say then. The mass, of course, 3 out of 5. It's outside of our control. So yeah, that was it. It was pretty fast, but it was fun. It was a very nice drive. I forgot to talk about the drive, but you could see for yourself, especially this last part in the Czech Republic. It was like the town where the pedestrians walk. That was really nice. I had a good time. Thank you for watching, and take care of yourself. Bye.